The next morning at the hospital, everyone was waiting to pick up Luna. As Thorn stood there, she decided to speak to her father. Daddy, about the whole deal of Kruger, I just wanted to say that I know what you did just to protect me, and I forgive you, she said. Mr. McKnight was pretty caught off guard. I'm sorry I never told you, Sally. I just didn't want you to have to remember those nightmares, he said. It's okay, Daddy, Thorn said. I love you. She drew Mr. McKnight in for a hug and then returned the gesture. I love you too, sweetheart, he said. Look who's back, Fred said. Walking out of her room came Luna. She looked slightly scared scarred but healthy, but put a huge grin on her face as she hugged her friends. I'm so glad you're okay, Thorn said. Yeah, so how did you guys do? Did you take care of the problem? Luna asked. Yep, Mystery Inc. has solved the case and closed. Did, Velma said. Luna, Mr. Brooks said, walking towards his daughter and giving her a hug. Are you okay? Yeah, Dad, I'm fine. Thanks for coming, Luna said. Well, are you fine enough to perform at the festival today? Thorn asked with a smile. Later at the festival, the girls performed beautifully. The crowd was watching and cheer as the band went on and clapped at the beat. Over at the contest area, Shaggy and a bandaged-up Scooby-Doo prepared themselves for the big event. They both wore their table napkins like bibs. Sitting next to them were 6 other people who they didn't know stand a chance against them. Why, this has to be the best contest ever, Shaggy said. Rah! Scooby said. Ring in the rood. Back on stage, the Hex Girls finished their number. The crowd applauded their song as Thorn bowed to the crowd before reapproaching the mic. Thank you, she said. For our next song, we decided to perform something special for you guys. The crowd cheered again. Hit it, sisters, Thorn said. Luna's fingers then began to play a familiar melody on her keyboard. The crowd knew what the song was and began to cheer even louder. Over by the food stands, the announcer guy shot the fire pistol in the air, inhaling the contest. Shaggy and Scooby began eating rapidly as the sound of Thorn's guitar and Dusk's drums entered the mix of Luna's keyboard playing. The Hex Girls were singing the cover version of Van Halen's Dreams. It wasn't long before Thorn put her mouth near the mic and began to sing. The people competing against Shaggy and Scooby never stood a chance, but they smoked with everyone's favorite dish. And in the crowd, Mr. McKnight and Mr. Brooks watched as their daughters performed. Fred, Daphne, and Velma cheered on Shaggy and Scooby as they continued to dominate the eating contest. After the final dish, it was clear that the winners were. They announced the guy decided to end the contest. That's it, he shouted. The winners of the eating contest are Shaggy Rogers and Scooby-Doo. Daphne, Fred, and Velma applauded their friends. Like, it was no big deal, Shaggy said without any attempt at modesty. And the announcer man then brought Shaggy and Scooby their ribbons, stating that they won the contest. And at the end of the dreams, we will depend, 'cause that's what love is made of. Scooby-Dooby-Doo, Scooby said triumphantly, looking towards us, and he reached down and came back up, wearing Kruger's knife gloves, and then flipped on the fedora before slashing. And then the subtitle of the chuckle of Freddy Krueger was heard. And that, my little pretties, was Scooby-Doo's Nightmare on Elm Street. A Scooby-Doo Nightmare on Elm Street fanfiction or creepypasta, whatever you prefer to call it, written by HeroesFan3. My final thoughts of this story? Alright, I'm kind of, wanting to, give a little bit of background description on, how I discovered this story. It is on fanfiction.net if you guys are wanting to know. So, to be honest, when I first saw this story, I think I encountered this story, I believe, sometime in 13 or something like that. I actually decided to have a read at this story, before I started creepypastas. And oh my god, this story was messed up as hell. But it's actually a pretty good story, to be honest. I really, really like how the story went out. It had a good concept for what it is. So basically, if you haven't noticed that this is actually the remake of, Nightmare on Elm Street that came out in 2010. So it's like the Scooby-Doo crossover with Nightmare on Elm Street. And this is kind of based on the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street. Not the one by Wes Craven, but the other one that was made in 2010. And I started to realize that because I watched a remake of it in 2010 not too long ago.
And I'm gonna be completely honest, I could honestly see Scooby-Doo and the Nightmare on Elm Street, be a crossover. I honestly could see this being the case. And the reason why for that is because of how, what would you call it? Oh yeah. That's because of how amazing it looks. Like it has a really good concept for, this whole story being good. Like it's a pretty well made story, and I'm definitely have to say that it's a pretty well made story for what this is. It's a really amazing story. I can honestly see this being, a real Scooby Doo, you could definitely say a real Scooby Doo, if they were to make a movie with Nightmare on Elm Street, it would most likely be rated R or something because of, if you watch Nightmare on Elm Street, you'll see how messed up, the movie is. But it's a pretty good classic horror movie at the time. Now, I'm just saying right now that this story honestly was provided pretty good detail. I honestly, when I first read this, I believe, I narrated this story sometime in 2019. I didn't give a review on it because, I just didn't feel that it needed a review at the time, but now I'm looking at this, I feel that I need to review of how good it is. I honestly really like how the time and effort that this person put in this story. I really do enjoy, the grammar, the sentence structuring, the storyline, the paragraph structuring. All the hard time and effort that this person put in the story is flat out amazing. I'm really enjoying how this story went out. It had a pretty good concept for it. Like what I remember when I read this story, when I first discovered it back in 2013, I honestly saw how good this story was, and it was actually a pretty good story. Not that I'm going out of my way and re-narrating this again, I honestly have to say that this is actually a pretty fun story. I actually enjoyed narrating this one. I enjoyed having a great time with it. It's a very good concept, and it was really well made in detail. And I do enjoy the fact that, it's the good suspense of how good this one is. It's really amazing. Like, when I first saw this, I honestly have to say it's a pretty good concept for what this movie is. Now, I'm going to sit here and say this right now, that I could honestly see Scooby-Doo crossing over with Nightmare on Elm Street. I think that'd be quite amazing, to say the least. But at the same time, if they were to do that, it would most likely be rated R because of, the content that it was described in it. I couldn't say certain words or certain things in there because I was kind of hesitant to say some of them because of how messed up they are. And there's even some places I didn't really bother saying it because they were just messed up. But with all due sincerity, this story honestly was really amazing and well made. Like, the person actually put a whole time and effort into writing this story. I honestly was, very surprised at how good this one is. Now, I can't see anything that I really did not like about it, but I definitely have to say, the fact that this is, if you've seen Nightmare on Elm Street, you would see that, that is like a classic horror movie, was remade in 2010. So this is based on the remake, which I really have to say it's pretty cool. Now, I think Freddy Krueger did make an appearance in Scooby-Doo or something. I'm not really sure if he did. I know he made an appearance in Family Guy, and I remember one episode of Family Guy, he made an appearance on that, and I remember he did make an appearance on a few other, I could definitely say a few other stories or something. Well, not stories, but like a few other, TV shows. And I'm not really sure if he ever made an appearance in Scooby-Doo. I think he must have. I'm not really sure. It's been like quite a while. Maybe it might have been a very older Scooby-Doo show where Freddy Krueger made his appearance. But other than that, I really have to say that I really do find this story to be rather enjoyable, really well made. It actually had a good concept, and I really like how it all went out. If there's one thing I wasn't really a fan of, if I had to say that, I can't really say anything that I don't like about this story. I just can't find anything bad about this story. I can't. I think it's just because of how good the suspense is and good the horror is. Really do recommend that you guys check out this story. It's on fanfiction.net. If you guys are wanting to know, feel free to look it up. It's a pretty good story, I'm not gonna lie.
It has a good concept, good detail. It's really awesome. I really, really do like that. You should really check it out. You really should check it out, this story, if you haven't. It's pretty good. So I really recommend you take a look at this story if you haven't. So, I guess with that being the case, so with that being said, this story was written by HeroesFan3. Pretty good story, I really have to say. I did see his other stories, and he did make another Scooby-Doo one, which was the Friday the 13th, Friday the 13th crossover, which I may consider reading that in the future if I have time. Not really going to guarantee it, though. But I definitely would have to say it's a really good story, this one is, so you really should check it out if you haven't. Feel free to check it out. And I guess I could definitely say that, I can honestly see Scooby-Doo working with, Nightmare on Elm Street. Like, I know they did a few crossovers, I believe. I'm not really sure. I remember they're doing one with Courage the Cowardly Dog, which I really have to say that I cannot wait to see that. That's actually amazing. But I guess I don't have really anything else much to say because I can't really seem to think of it right now. But like I'm always going to say, I'm just going to wrap up this review. There's nothing really much I can say about it because I kind of already said it. But like I'm always going to say, and like I'll always continue to say, this is just simply my own personal opinion. And if you happen to disagree with me, that's fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions regardless of these creepypastas or fan fictions, whatever you prefer to call it. And this is simply my own personal thoughts. My final rating of the story would have to be I guess, 10 out of 10. Pretty good story, really good, well made. I really do like how everything went out. It's a pretty good concept. Really do find this one to be enjoyable. It's definitely a must read if you happen to, like it a lot. Really do check this one out. Now, I guess anyway, with that being the case, that being said, what did you guys think about this creepypasta or fanfiction, whatever you want to call this one? Did you all enjoy it? Did you all not? Also, what we have done personally to help make this story a lot better? Feel free to leave me down what your thoughts are down in the comment section down below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode, and if you happen to be brand new here on this channel, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to when I upload, and you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, please roll the outro because I'm out.